together a level up menu for Link right here. And it's overly complicated and took a bunch too much time. I should have split up into 2 episodes, I think, but it worked. So thank goodness. So today we are going to be working on getting Link, who is now a fully functional adult, out of his room and into the larger world, the overworld. So let's get cracking with that. Okay, so we have here some room starting position code in our side-scrolling object of Link. I believe we previously have talked about this because the code's here. So I'm not going to go too much depth on it, but I'll just remind you what it does. So when we enter the room, we'll change what entry direction Link has. If his direction is no one, so you'll set that manually, then set that to like room underscore width divided by 208. So it just tells you to start right here in the middle of the room at Y level 208. And 208 is floor level. And floor level is the same in every single room in the game, by the way. So just make sure you remember that. You do the same thing for if you're coming from the right, then you come from the right. Your sprite is set to the right side of the room, just barely at the middle of it, and then you're also given a push into the room, so you walk through the doorway, so to say. And same thing for the left, except this time because Link faces left by default, we have to update him to face right because he will be coming in from the right. So, right? And if you're coming from the top, which is basically you fall down a pit, then you start at Y equals 56 and in the middle of the room, so you'd be like somewhere around right here. All right, so let's see here. We got our various things here. So what we need to do is set up our Link our Link overworld object. So we are going to come down over here to Link, create a new object underscore Link underscore overworld. And we're going to give him a new sprite here. Object Link overworld. There we go. He uses this sprite. So we come down to our sprites, Link. And you can see our overworld sprites right here. So we're going to give him this walking downward sprite. And for the moment, we're not actually going to do anything with him. We're just going to leave him as is because we'll use him to get into the overworld and we'll worry about the consequences later. Because we got several other things we have to do first. We have to set up a door for Link to hit, right? Because he has to hit something to be able to know that he needs to move through from one room into the other. Let's see if I can find it. Object loading zone. Okay. If I remember correctly. Let's go check. Oh, yeah. That's right. We don't even have to do that because I just set it all up in the code because Link exits the room when he reaches the left or right side of the screen. So in that case, Control M, we just come down here to our transition check region. And Link, side scrolling, step, transition check. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of comments on how this works, but we basically do, if my x is less than 0, or x is less than 0, or my x is greater than room underscore width. So, very simple. Then do one of these things. We have to check to see if there's a loading zone. So come down here to room objects, and we're going to create a new object. obj underscore loading underscore zone. And to make it easier to see, we're also going to give it a sprite, miscellaneous, and just room boundaries. This is if we have a loading zone object, sort of say, to do. So if insta does not equal no one, then global.current.entry direction is equal to underscore insta.entry direction. So I don't believe I actually ever did end up using this. So if you actually did use this, the code would crash because there is no code in the loading zone object, unless... Did I put in a variable definition? Oh, I did, so never mind. Yeah. Okay, so I did this so that you could actually edit it in room when you place it. So we have room underscore 2 underscore and audio underscore change underscore and entry underscore direction underscore. By default, we want to go to room underscore north underscore palace. If for some reason we don't edit it, it'll just take us back to the beginning. And no one. No one is a real. It's -4. No one. Okay, so we have those information there. That's oh yeah, I think I probably use these things for like when you hit a house or something on the overworld to teleport to the correct map there. So if insta is not equal, well, no, because yeah, you wouldn't actually be touching any, you wouldn't be using the link side scrolling object on the overworld, so that wouldn't work. There's, well, at least I have it set up, so if you want to use it, global.current save data.entry direction is equal to underscore insta.entry direction, so you can tell Link what side of the room you want him to enter from when you touch my object, when you go to the next screen. And if audio change is not equal no one, then cue new song, insta audio change, 1, in this case, priority 1, loops would be true, because they're basically playing background music here, and sec times 0.1, so 0.1 second fade. You can come up with your own settings for that if you feel like it. And fancy transition from the current room to the new room at a speed of 5, which is almost instantaneously, but not quite. All right, so if we go with else here, and we say global.current save data dot intro direction again is equal to no one, so we want to basically I'm saying, okay, this is how it works when you're in this room, because we're going into the overworld, because if we're here and we're moving to a new room, then we're most likely going to the overworld. So I set the intro direction no one because it doesn't matter when you go to the overworld. If audio underscore is playing music overworld music, then so if the overworld music is not playing, then play the overworld music. And again, fancy transition to the overworld at a speed of 5. That means we get to finally make the overworld room. So let's come down over here to room overworld. We don't have that room yet, so we have to make it. Let's create a room. Room underscore overworld. And to get started on that, let me pull it up over here as well. Room overworld. Okay. Bunch of stuff going on here. All right, so we need to first off set the size. I didn't bring the entire overworld, just a small portion of it into the game. 1024 as our width, our height would be 528. And for the background, it's just ignore that. We're going to put in a background asset. And for the asset here, we are going to go down to our sprites and backgrounds. No, Overworld. There we go. And pop that in. Boom. Our entire overworld is already pre-created. Aren't we lucky again that we live in a modern age where we can just bring in the entire sprite as one big chunk instead of having to actually tile it all out like a normie. Let's make this 8 by 8 for ease of use. And let's see, what else do we got going here? Collisions. So we're going to need a collisions tile layer. And we're going to give you a tile set, collisions. Come here, grab our square, and basically just tile off wherever you don't want Link to be able to walk over. So I'm just going to throw down some random stuff here. You could be fancy and actually tile it out perfectly, which I did in my test project, but for the moment I'm just going to be lazy about it. And then we have landmarks. This is what I came up with as the system for various places that you can visit. And in order to do that, I have a new object. Back to the workspaces. Come back to room objects, or yeah, room objects here. I have create object, object underscore overworld underscore 2 underscore landmark underscore transition. And like the other one, whoops, I didn't want to create a sprite. New sprite, I wanted to go down to miscellaneous, come back to here, give you that. And if I come over here, you can then see it in action very easily. And by 8. Now we have it. We have a transition landmark there now, and we need to throw in some code to you. It's basically going to be the same thing as the room transition. In fact, I probably just could have duplicated it. So, variable definitions, add 3 of them. Room underscore 2 underscore room underscore palace by default. And audio underscore change underscore no one. And entry underscore direction underscore no one. So yeah, I guess this was the loading zone was kind of my prototype, and then I came up with the landmark to transition thingy after that. So anyways, here we would actually be going into the room North Palace because, well, that's the room that we are going to. Okay, there it is. And let me open up the variables here. So we have the North Palace because that's where we're going. To audio change no one because the North Palace uses the overworld music. And then for direction, we want to enter from dir4.right. Because we want to enter from the right side of the screen when we touch this. Okay, so Link is now almost ready. We come back over here, actually, to our overworld. We have our next layer we're going to make. I'm going to give it, call it enemies, because our enemies are going to be wandering around this layer when we create them. And last but not least, we have our instance layer, and in that layer we put object link overworld. Again, this should be 8 by 8. There we go. We start Link off directly on the North Palace. Okay, so we got object link overworld and all that fun stuff. So what next? What next? What next? We got 15 minutes here, so I got about another 10 minutes. So if we go into link overworld, we go into our create event. We're going to create a object here of simplified capabilities. Unlike our player, which has a whole bunch of states and everything, Link isn't going to be able to do too much, but he'll keep some stuff. So let's bring in some of our code here. Over in our create event, we basically take this camera stuff from link side scrolling. We take the method from link side scrolling. We take the states from link side scrolling. So I have here overworld states be idle, move, and raft. We don't actually use raft in the tutorial because we aren't going to actually do that, but basically it's the same as move, except you replace Link's sprite with the rafting sprite, and you make him a set to only be able to move in one direction until he reaches land again. That's all there is to it. Battle tile type, none, road, West Hyrule grass, West Hyrule forest. So in the game, based on what your tile type is, so if you're like here, or if you're like on the grass, or if you're on the forest, or if you're on the road, it'll change what enemies you encounter when you hit a enemy, when you hit an enemy wandering mob on the overworld. Then we got here this object camera. So yeah, so next step on here, we're just going to set up a quick movement system because we want to be able to see him move. So just come over to our step real quick here and keyboard underscore check VK underscore right X plus plus. And the same thing, if keyboard check left X minus. That'll let us move back and forth real easily. The important part that we're looking for here is our check for a collision with something. So if we go over into Shift F, Control Shift F, where are you? Oh, there it is. I'm looking for a collision with obj underscore overworld underscore 2 underscore landmark. Ah, there it is, in our idle state. So we come over here and do this. Our instance over landmark to landmark transition. Actually, this wouldn't work because I have to actually set up the full grid movement before you could actually use it. Otherwise, you'll just instantaneously move back into the player's little hole. So anyways, just for the moment, we'll fake it by saying give keyboard underscore check underscore press to VK underscore space. Then if we have a landmark transition to it, that'll work. So if we press space, then we'll transition to the landmark. So check to get an instance. And that would be object over the landmark test. And good. And the link is animating, but that'll be something we'll fix in a little bit. So press space. We go back into the room, but we're immediately transitioning back because I'm too far outside of the room for some reason. Good thing to check about. So transition of check in our player object should be if our x is less than 0 or x is greater than room width. Come back over into our create event. We can see that our X position, when we are put in on the right side of the, is for our entry direction, is room width minus the sprite width divided by 2. So I'm saying half width of your sprite. This is my sprite when I create, so that'd be the link find treasure. Come down to here, link find treasure. It should be the same size as a link walk. Her jump of standing walk, right? 1632, 1632, origin 831, and yeah. So why am I being positioned just outside of the room there? I can tell based on the position of the, you can see the sword hitboxes there for a second, and that means that basically you're to the side of the room slightly. So right, x is minus sprite width divided by 2. So put me at x equals room width minus the sprite width. So let's just do that. See if that brings me into place. You can see a link fall off the edge of the room real quick there. Oh, see, again, we're even further back now. You're at room width minus the sprite width. So why are you why are you backing out of the room? I don't understand at that point. So let's say room width minus 32, just to go straight up. Rather than trying to do it procedurally. Maybe there's something wrong with the sprite width. And press space. There we go. It works properly at that point. So I don't know why, for some reason, it's just suddenly saying, I don't care about your, Oh. Apparently, I didn't use that in my actual project either. I didn't use sprite width. I used an actual X position. So I used 8 here. Room width divided by 2 at there, 208. Then room width minus 8. 208, and 8 equals 208. Apparently I have 2 commas right there. That's not good. Room width divided by 2, y equals 56. Okay, well that works. For whatever reason, using sprite width. Oh wait. No, sprite width doesn't accept any this is a built-in variable, so it doesn't accept anything. And it should give me the value of 16, and then if I divide that by 2, I should get 8, right? That sounds reasonable, correct? Whatever. It's just the way it works. So anyways, yeah, just give it an actual value instead of trying to be all procedural about it, I guess. We'll do one more test. And press space. And you're back in the room, and you walk in, and it looks like you're amazing because you're walking in from the left or right side of the screen, right? Okay, so that's everything to get us into the overworld and get us started on our side-scrolling object, etc. So thank you everybody for joining me for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of debugging as well. So anyways, until next time, I'm going to let past me take it away with Patreon names. I'd like to thank my legacy Patreon sponsors who supported me last season during the hiatus. James Burton, JD Lowe, Suli, and Vazia. I'd of course also like to extend my thanks to my current Patreon sponsors. Kenneth Klein, Confusion, Jamal, Hernando, Sergez, and lastly, Amy. Thank you everybody for supporting the NESGameMaker. You really help it all happen. And remember, good luck with your program.